All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Wednesday morning. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2014. The date is important on this particular show because John Fuller, an attorney from here in Ocala at the law firm of Fuller & Fuller, is here to answer your legal questions. And you need to know if he's here live or if you're listening to a tape, because some weeks he has to be in court. That's what he does for a living. So right now, if you're listening on July 23rd, 2014, then you're listening to a live show. And John Fuller will answer your questions. Go ahead and call now, because if you wait till the end, we might run out of time and you won't get a complete answer. So the number is 352-622-9622. That's 352-622-WOCA, and that is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. Good morning, John.
Good morning,
How
Larry.
are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. I hope our listeners are all doing well, and it's great to be here and have a chance to chat with you and anybody who's listening who may have a legal question or a legal issue, have a family member or a friend or a loved one who they are aware of who may have been in an automobile accident or who may be facing a difficulty that involves legal questions in the legal system. We're happy to talk in general terms about that, and of course if folks are in need of representation in things like automobile accident cases, business commercial litigation, or Social Security disability claims, those are the things that we focus our work on in our law firm, Fuller & Fuller, and we'd be happy to speak with you individually at an office conference if you have an accident case with significant injuries, a business dispute, complex family law matter involving substantial assets or complicated issues such as a family business that has to be valued and divided, that sort of thing. Those are the type of cases that we work on primarily.
This morning we had a discussion with a guy who was talking about foreclosures, and during a divorce, sometimes it's better to do a quit claim. And I wanted to ask you to explain what that is.
Well, in real estate transactions, when you convey or sell or give or transfer, all words basically mean taking title of property from one party and transferring the ownership to another party, there's a document that does that, and there are different types of documents. They're all known as deeds.
Okay.
And they are essentially three separate types of deeds that do different things under the law of real property. The deed that you probably got and should have gotten when you bought your house is a warranty deed. It is saying and reciting that the person who is selling or conveying the property to you warrants that they have good legal title to the property and that they are conveying it to you free and clear of any encumbrances, and they warrant that if there are any defects in that title, like an old claim from a deceased person who didn't give a deed to it 30 years ago, right, or whatever, that if somebody makes a claim against your title after they give it to you or sell it to you with a warranty deed, then they warrant that they will come in and cure title, and they warrant you that you have full ownership, subject to whatever exceptions they may place on it, like subject to a utilities easement that goes across it, or subject to a mortgage, or subject to taxes, that sort of thing. Okay. So the best kind of deed you can get is a warranty deed. The next type of deed is a special warranty deed, which is what usually is used in divorce cases, which says that one party is conveying their interest in the property to the other party, and they warrant that the title is good against any claims coming by or through them. That means that they didn't do anything to encumber the title. They didn't secretly run out and mortgage it, or they didn't give an interest in it to somebody else, and they're warranting it as to them. They're not warranting it as to everybody in the chain of title who was a previous owner, that there may not be a defect. Okay, but if you got a general warranty deed when you bought it and you've held it as
Right.
husband and wife, and now you're splitting up and you're getting a conveyance from one party to the other, special warranty deeds make certain that the recipient, which is called the person is called the grantee, the seller is called the grantor, and the recipient has a special warranty. Last thing to answer your question, quitclaim deed is the least protection to the buyer or the grantee. It just says, I give you whatever interest I have in this property. I could give you a quitclaim deed today to the Brooklyn Bridge, and there wouldn't be anything wrong with it. Now, in case you were wondering, I don't own the Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh, wow.
But a quitclaim deed just says, whatever I own in this described parcel of property, I'm conveying to you. If I don't own anything, you don't get anything.
Okay. And you do have a phone call, so let's go to the call. And everybody, you're invited. Just so you know, John is here to answer your questions, and I encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity. The number again, 622-WOCA. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Good morning, John. This is Mike.
Good morning, Mike. Thank you for calling. I hope we didn't keep you waiting.
Just a little while. I always get to the end, and I don't have time to get my question in.
Well, I think we got some good time today. How can we help you?
In a nursing home facility, Social Security allows a nursing home to divert the funds to that facility, all except $35, which the nursing home acts as the fiduciary or the bank, which they pays 1% on. Should not they send you a monthly statement the same as a bank, and that money is held by that bank and is available to the client or their representative at any time? And another second part of that question is, what happens when the client in that nursing facility has no known surviving relatives, and that money then stays with that nursing home? Should that money be returned to Social Security, or can the nursing home use that money to pay off debts to another facility that is not part of that cooperation, if you understand what I'm saying? I'll hang up and I'll listen to your comments.
Well, Mike, that's not just a one-dimensional, simple question, and I am reluctant to try to delve into that in a general comment radio show like this. I would start in analyzing the situation by needing to see copies of all of the documents that set up the relationship between the person who is the resident of the nursing home, or whatever facility it is, and the agreement concerning their Social Security benefits, whether it is Social Security or whether there's any Medicaid component that is being used. That is a multi-dimensional, very complex question that you ask. I will acknowledge that I do not know a simple answer to answer your question on what the responsibilities are, or what their entitlement is, or what the rights of the nursing home is to the Social Security benefits. Under Florida general probate law, if a person passes away with no known heirs, and the statute spells out that you look to both lineal descendants and lineal ascendants. That means going up the line to mother, father, grandparents, and so forth, down the line to children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. If you don't do that, then you look to collateral heirs, looking for aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, and it has a chart that spells it all out, that you go as far as you can to see if there is any blood relative who would be an interested party in the estate. If there are any, that individual could come in, and if they don't have a will, the person who passed away does not have a will, the interested party could start a petition to probate the estate and to determine who are interested parties and what assets they are, and to distribute those assets after the payment of bills. Usually under Florida law, claims of creditors are first to be paid before distributions to any heirs at law. If it gets to the absolute exhaustion, and I do not handle real estate, probate, wills, or trusts. Those are areas that we don't practice in, so I want to make sure I make that caveat clear, that that's not an area that we specialize in. It's not an area that we focus in, and we don't handle it. So I'm giving you very generalized, generic thoughts that you should talk with a lawyer who handles and specializes in wills, estates, trusts, and probate, and have all those documents that I mentioned, the contract with the nursing home facility, whatever documentation that you have from whoever the third-party payor is, whether it's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, have all those documents, because I think you're going to find that the answer to many of the questions you have are going to be controlled by a lot of the language that are in those documents. I wish I could be more specific, but that's a very, very complex question that you just can't answer on a 30-minute radio show talking about general legal terms. You need to go and hire a probate, wills, estates, and trust lawyer to analyze that, to get all the pertinent information, and to do what lawyers do, render a meaningful opinion after being fully advised in all the facts and researching the law.
Well, while you couldn't answer directly on a radio show, which is understandable, at least he's got a direction now, so that's good.
Well, I hope that helps, Mike. Yeah. And thank you for calling. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to give anybody bad information, so it's better for me to tell you I don't know specifically, and it's not in my area of specialty, and direct you to someone who may be able to do that. I will also tell you, if you don't know a lawyer who handles wills, estates, trusts, or probate, the Florida Bar Association has a hotline for consumers.
Okay.
It is 1-800-342-8011. And you can call that anytime, and they will give you a referral of the name of 3 lawyers who specialize in the area of the law that you have an issue or a problem in, that are located within your geographical area. And that's a very, very good resource. We refer folks to the Florida Bar Hotline on a regular basis when they call our office. If it's not something we handle, and we don't personally know lawyers who we feel comfortable referring you to, because we don't know somebody who practices in a certain geographical area. If a person calls up and says, I need a lawyer in Fort Lauderdale, and it's in an area of practice that we don't know, and we don't know anybody personally, rather than maybe giving out names that we don't know who they are or anything about them, we'll refer you to the Florida Bar Hotline.
John, we have to take a little break, and we'll be right back. Your calls are important. Today is July 23rd. The number is 622-9622. If you call John right now, you'll be on hold about 1 minute. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating has no accident. Partly sunny skies today with some drenching showers and thunderstorms mainly this afternoon. High 91 to 93. There'll be a thunderstorm this evening. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies tonight. Low 73 to 76. And times of sunny clouds tomorrow with a thunderstorm possible in the morning, followed by a couple of thunderstorms around tomorrow afternoon. High 91 to 93. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Stephanie Omo.
Legally Yours, brought to you by Fuller & Fuller Attorneys at Law. On the air every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. with John Fuller, a board-certified civil trial lawyer for over 25 years. John welcomes your questions, from business to complex family matters to legal disputes. So tune in every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Legally Yours with John Fuller, right here on WOCA 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, The Source. They've served our country. They've kept us free. And they need your help.
We're sitting in Veterans Park. You can't sit here not realizing that you're surrounded by heroes. There are a lot of heroes in our community. A lot of heroes, unfortunately, are not in good financial shape. They're hurting both physically and financially. We step in and help directly. Our role is to reach out to them. We're there to help the veteran. We do counseling. We do outreach. Sometimes it's just coming into the office and sitting down and saying, hey, I've got a problem, and you're talking to another veteran who understands that problem.
Everybody who works for the Vets Helping Vets are awesome, and they are so kind to everybody. They're like my second family. They really are.
They have been there during the holidays. I have gotten unexpected visits, assistance.
Vets Helping Vets of Marion County needs your help. Call today, 352-433-2320, and pledge your support to Vets Helping Vets of Marion County.
It really has been a blessing.
All right, 10 minutes before 11 o'clock. Let's return to John Fuller and Legally Yours. And remember, if you have a question for John, the number right now, 622-WOCA. Yeah, that was an interesting, one of the things I find interesting, and it's worth mentioning to our listeners, that these shows are recorded as an audio and a video. If you go to the WOCA YouTube channel, you'll see John Fuller's videos from the day he started these. And a lot of times people will refer to them because you've addressed something in the past and they want to share it with somebody else.
That's nice of you to mention that, Larry, and I also want to share our appreciation to you and this radio station. We had a gentleman call our office to represent him. My wife, Janet, is helping him in a Social Security matter. He is extremely bright individual with multiple graduate degrees who had a serious problem, and he went, saw our webpage, and then clicked on this show and went and listened to some of the old archive shows, thought that we might be able to be helpful to him, and called our office for an appointment and came in, and my wife Janet, it's in her area of practice, and so she is now helping him, and he found it beneficial that he could go back and hear some of these shows. So to folks out there who may want to check out a little bit about how to choose a lawyer, looking at people's qualifications on their website, looking in Martindale-Hubbell, which is a national rating service. That's good. We have a call, so let's go talk to one of our listeners.
Yes, sir. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you very much. In the course of your daily life, let's say you run across a situation where you might see child abuse, maybe a robbery in progress, possibly a break-in, or even like a rape starting, and you get involved, and you're going on the premises of you can be doing this as a citizen, as a citizen's arrest. If it ends up in court, maybe because you got injured in the involvement, what weight does that have in a court with lawyers and the judge and everybody else as far as claiming the fact that you were trying to do what you would call a citizen's arrest?
Well, again, that's one of those multi-dimensional, highly involved questions that involve a whole gamut of legal issues. An individual citizen has the right to use lethal or deadly force to protect themselves or others from a perceived threat of imminent bodily injury, harm from someone else with the application of lethal force. That doesn't mean if someone says a harsh word to you that you have the right to take out a baseball bat and to use that in a retaliation, nor if you hear someone use a harsh word to a third party in your presence, you don't have that right. Citizens' arrests are a gray area of the law, and I would not be comfortable in opining on that. Usually, I won't say usually, it is my recommendation in every case where it is reasonably possible. If you see or observe something something that you think is a breach of the peace, a violation of law, or somebody is at risk, call 911 immediately and let the authorities do it. Now, obviously, there's an old cliche that when imminent danger is minutes away, law enforcement's only 30 minutes away or an hour away, and they do the best they can. But this is a big county, and we've had very limited revenue stream because of the economy, and that's cut back on budgets to law enforcement as well as a lot of other services. So they do a marvelous job, but it's not always instantaneous, and you do have a right to defend yourself and others. But if you get involved in it, be prepared to be involved in the legal system as a litigant, and you certainly could incur legal expenses in defending yourself. And if you engaged in an act that was a voluntary intentional act, you're probably not going to be covered by your homeowner's insurance for negligence or that sort of thing if it's an intentional act. Other than that, the question is quite far-reaching, and I wouldn't be comfortable being more specific. But thank you for calling.
I quite understand your reasoning there calling 911, but you just hate to turn your back on something that's happening right at the minute. It needs actually attention right at the moment.
Yes, and I'm not suggesting that you don't use good judgment and try to come to the assistance of someone who is in dire need. You can pick up the newspaper and read where people in cities look out the window and see someone being mugged, and they pull the window shade down and go back to their television set. Obviously, I don't subscribe to that. I think it's a noble thing and an honorable thing, and I would certainly understand someone and not waiting if law enforcement is not available. But call 911 first and tell them what's happening, because that is a wonderful defense to you if there comes some criminal investigation or a civil lawsuit against you for intervening. If you've called 911 first and you've laid out the facts of where you are, what you've observed, what your description is, so they'll know you're the good guy when law enforcement gets there, and that there someone is in imminent danger, and you're going to try to reasonably assist them. And please send law enforcement as soon as possible. Those are about the best practical things that I can tell you to do. And of course, anytime you involve yourself in a situation where there are hostilities, whether it's just simple physical or more aggravated with some type of a weapon or ultimately a firearm, you certainly take a risk. But, we live in a world where I still think that we have honorable people who want to try to help their fellow man. I just want you to be aware that you do that to some degree at your own risk for injury. But even if you were successful, and you read about this a lot in the concealed weapons body of law, where someone is lawfully permitted to have a concealed weapon, and they see someone attacking someone else, and they involve themselves with it to try to protect the other person, and it escalates to where they then deploy their weapon and discharge their weapon, and somebody is shot. Even if that is ruled justifiable, does not mean that you might not find yourself in a lawsuit where the family sues you civilly. So
that's right.
There's it's a difficult. Those are difficult decisions to make, and unfortunately, when you're called upon to make those decisions, you don't have the luxury to sit around like we are today and to debate the pros and cons.
That's right, John. We've got about a minute left. Can you give out information so we can get a hold of you? Your phone number, etc.?
If you need to have a conference on a case that we handle, our law firm is Fuller & Fuller. Our office number is 352-547-4292. Our toll-free number is 855-534-2565.
All right. Good information. And as always, for the listeners, if you want to share this information with somebody, it's easy. Just go through WOCA's YouTube channel. It's easy to find, and you'll find all of the programs. John Fuller is labeled simply Legally Yours with John Fuller. We'll take a little break and be right back. Thank you, John.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu in the Netherlands. The first victims of the Malaysia airliner crash arriving there, carried in by military transport